Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unfiltered Vet Discussions. My name is Kelly, and I'm being joined by David, Jenny, Beth, and Peter. Phil is not with us today, but we send our regards to him wherever he may be. Please join, like, follow on all social media platforms, not just one, go crazy. Like us on all places and all the podcast platforms. And we'd love to hear from you as well. So please comment or share. Since we're rolling into a new year, hard to believe. I don't know where the last year went. I blinked and it was absolutely gone. Um, and it's a good time to do people have resolutions that may or may not last more than 2 days. But regardless, if you own a business, there are some things you should be doing every year. And one of them is looking at your expenses. Because I know my CFO constantly is like, it's time to check all your software subscriptions. Do you still need them? Do you have are you paying for more users than you should be? Let's go through, and we do. We go through every subscription service that we have and make sure that it's clean and that we're paying for what we're using. But I'm a marketing company. I'm not a veterinary hospital. So I'm going to throw it out to the other four to talk about what a veterinary hospital, I mean, they should be watching their subscriptions too, I'm assuming, but
Yeah,
it's not the main
especially
deal.
with the online software now. That's
True.
that's that's huge.
It's huge. So David, you're in the numbers all day long.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you know, we loves the numbers.
You're
This is
like
his bread and
Gollum,
butter.
a
My
shiny
precious.
thing.
Yeah.
But the number, and it's still the number one financial disease, is inventory management. And I think if you're going to focus on anything in your practice, whether you're large animal, mixed animal, mobile, haul-in facility, small animal, concierge, specialty ER, it's the cost of goods sold, cost of professional services. That's your variable expense. And as a dollar amount, it varies with the revenues. Revenues go up, the expense goes up. See more dogs, use more drugs. But as a percent of revenue, and if that's all you check on an annual basis, go back over time. What were my costs of goods sold? Drugs, medical supplies, in-house lab, reference lab, flea tick, heartworm, diets for a small animal practice. That group of expenses as a percent of revenue, annually looking at that, because as a percent of revenue, it should be fairly constant. And yeah, people say 25, 26% of revenue. Regardless, if you're 28, 28.4, 28.2, 27.9, 28.3. But if it's going 28, 29, 30, 31, we got a problem,
Mhm.
which can include theft, not just inventory management. So I think if going backwards and checking at that, and then using that as a budget going forward. So many practices don't even have a budget. But I'll throw that out there. I could go the whole 30 minutes here, stream
So
of consciousness, but I think I'd like to hear at least Jenny and Beth especially, and Peter's got so much experience, but on inventory management itself.
I have one question while we're thinking about this, because I'm not in the hospital, but being on the speaking tour circuit as much as I've been over the years, I know you guys speak about this at conventions and things, and you say these things, but while you're giving answers, why don't people watch it? Like, what's like just instead of being told,
Peter.
Peter's like,
Ooh,
I'm gonna do it.
I know why too, but
He
Peter,
wants
I
it.
want to hear your answer.
Peter Drucker, you have to measure it to manage it. 50% of the hospitals out there run by which way is the wind blowing? No, I wasn't squeezing anal glands. It's which way is the wind blowing? And this is a conversation, David, you and I have been involved with for years with the AHA VMG chart of accounts and
Yeah.
standardization and PIMS and QuickBooks and everything else. Dudes, so many of you out there are running your freaking practices blind. You're like Mr. Magoo, driving the car and you have no idea where you're going. What David is talking about Yes, he's talking about numbers. Numbers aren't scary. They are what allows you to make sure that you've got gas in your car and that your battery is charged. Well, your practice needs to run the same way. And David just focused on one relatively small slash large component of things because the other large slash huge component is the people expense. And that's both doctors and staff. But if you have no clue where you're going, and there was an article from AHA not that long ago, within the last decade, which in veterinary medicine is forever, um, that indicated 50% of the veterinary hospitals do not manage using data or numbers. And David sees those.
God.
David
That's
sees those
scary.
because they're wanting to sell, and he brings them in a shoebox. And I remember Lou Gatto telling me of a practice that actually took and Xeroxed all the cash that wasn't being reported because and wanted that included in the valuation. We have to stop being freaking amateurs and start being professionals when we come to running our businesses. I'm done. Mic drop.
Wow, these are some great stories,
I
actually.
have things to say. Okay.
I
So
Who knew this was such a good, juicy topic?
know.
so okay,
Precious.
when I got my start in veterinary medicine, the practice that I worked at managed inventory by shaking the bottles, right? So like, here we go, right? This is such a prime example. When we would place our orders, we would go through the pharmacy and shake the bottles and be like, this one feels three-quarters empty. I guess we'll put it on the list. So that was when I was like, 17 at the time. I certainly didn't know any better. But I think that there are absolutely still people that kind of use that kind of a philosophy. And I am also, David, I am a numbers nerd too. I love numbers. I love facts. I feel like facts have gotten me out of so many sticky situations, whether it is we need to look at payroll and we are overstaffed, or need to really look at inventory and are we, overstocking things that we're not selling. Those sort of conversations are ones that you should be having in your practice at a minimum monthly, if not weekly, to be checking in on all of these hot ticket items that are the things that can make or break your practice. And people who are not managing their inventory and are not checking their markups and are not tracking what expires to adjust quantity on hands, or who are not watching their overhead and seeing how many people are having overtime, like you are missing giant red flags that can really make a big difference for your bottom line. Huge difference.
Yeah, just jump in there. There's so much data available online. You don't have to make it up yourself or reinvent the wheel. I mean, we've got the profitable vet, right? And you all have written and spoken on this, or specialists like Nicole Clausen, who writes on that. That's all she does is inventory management. There are resources out there that can help you and take baby steps, but that inventory, all too often, when we see a practice that has no value or low profit, cash flow issues, it's the inventory more often than not that's hitting and draining that. And I see practices, oh, we had turnover last year. Okay, you gave the inventory to somebody new. Did you give them any education? Oh,
Yes.
well, we train a little. No, you train
Yeah,
dogs, you educate people. Did you educate them on give them the resource so that they can do the job? And all too often the answer is no. I just want you to figure it out. And
that's kind of that's
Coming,
hard. That's
coming
hard.
from,
I'm
oh,
still
sorry, go ahead,
stuck on the
Kelly.
bottle shaking. I just gotta say, I'm still at the bottle shaking. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
following
dude.
along, but
I'm
I'm
not
just
even
like,
kidding. That
No,
probably still happens at that practice.
it still happens in a lot of practices. We
yeah,
call it inventory maracas.
I like that. That's new to me. That's
I
great.
talk about it all the time because
Yeah.
basically that's how we used to do it. If the business was slow and I wasn't seeing clients and I was bored in the office, I'd go into the pharmacy and just start shaking the cephalexin bottle. I think it was just to piss people off. Then you go to the Siloxine and then you'd go to the prednisone. But so Jenny, you've got an even bigger challenge because you've got a mixed
You got
practice,
the
which
mix.
basically is very heavy in inventory.
We are,
Yes.
and we are higher. And I liked, David, what you said about keeping it level, because really we have two trucks. We have the hospital itself. We do livestock, so we have these random things that we keep on hand in case, because when you need them, you need them. But it's stuff that you don't use on a regular basis, like amoxicillin or, propofol or things like that. I think I just want to point out I am not a numbers person. Never have been, never will be. I hate Excel spreadsheets. Like, I
How
can't.
dare you?
I know. And what's really funny is that I'm the treasurer right now for my church and another organization. And I don't like it, but I can do it. But my point is, with regards to inventory, because I think David, can you hold up that book again, The Profitable Vet? Here's my thought on why people don't look at their numbers, because that word profit is a bad word
Yeah.
to a lot of veterinarians. And my husband is one of them that I have had to really remove him from the bookkeeping and the profit, because he's like, I don't want to talk about profit because then he would do it all for free. He wants to do it all for free, but we can't do it for free and pay our team a not just a livable wage, but an actual like wage that
Good
they
point.
don't have to get a second job, right? They can get the benefits that they deserve and they work hard for. But in order to do that, you have to make a profit. But if you look at those numbers, if you're really looking at them, then you realize, oh my gosh, I'm making a profit and I'm ripping off clients. And this is that mentality that we have to overcome, because I saw an article recently about, is veterinary medicine getting too expensive? But the likelihood of your pet living longer, healthier, being able to overcome these foreign bodies that they might get into, or, all of that has gotten so much better with the cost of medicine going up. So,
Well said.
what's more important? Do you want, we have a pig that my husband just saw that's 18 years old. This pet pig that lives in this lady's house. And he's in there and he's going, look, and we anesthetize it to do its hooves and its tusks because he's still angry at 18. And Simon's like, this, that he might not wake up. We're reaching a point now where 18 is really old. But you would never, one, we would have never seen pet pigs. Two, they would have never lived that long. But because the care that we give is so much better, and we have to make a profit so that we can meet those expectations of our clients and we can better the lives of our pets. So we really have to switch it from not just looking at the numbers, because that is very important, but in general, veterinary professionals are very emotional. Like we love, like, Beth, you said you love being a vet. This is what you've always wanted to do. My husband knew when he was 16, this was what he wanted to do. He loves it and he would do it for free if he could, but we can't. So we have to look at these things. And if you really hate numbers, get help from someone who loves it.
A
Yes.
therapist.
Other than a therapist. But I hired an inventory manager who came
Yes.
from the grocery store side of things. I mean, that's all inventory, right? Stocking shelves and all this, making sure that you don't have too much because of expiration dates. And she loves that stuff. Gone to VMX and taken classes. You talked about Nicole Clausen. I've had her listen to her and talk to her. And there are so many resources out there that if this is not your love, then find somebody who it is that you can trust and educate them and spend the money on the front end so that you can save money on the back end. But just because you don't love it and you don't live it and you maybe are not an Excel spreadsheet person, I feel you. There are ways that you can still help yourself and not feel like it's a bad word to have a profit. It's okay.
I want
And
I
you
want to
have a
jump in.
profit so that you can pay your team members so you can keep them, so we don't have the turnover, which also costs you money. Like it all goes together and it's not a bad thing.
On inventory management, real quick, because I saw Peter was jumping in as well, but you mentioned mixed animal practices. And for those listening, I'm a big fan. I do a lot of work with AABP and a lot of mixed animal, large animal practices. But if you are mixed, at a minimum, be able to track your revenues, large, small, and track your inventory, your costs of goods, large and small, because if it's all lumped in, it's hard to manage it. Is one side better than the other? And you're going to have different percentages from year to year in the large versus the small. So track them separately, if only those two line items.
Yeah.
Oh, soapbox time.
Well, at least you warned us. Okay.
We do not focus on profit sufficiently, which I'm okay with. But we also don't focus on purpose either. And we don't focus on people. Because the profit will come with the right people and the right purpose. There are large companies out there whose focus is too much on profit to the detriment of the purpose and the people. So I never want our independent hospitals to lose sight of the why that they do what they do. Tell the Viking that he can be a prophet, Prophet, of veterinary medicine, and that if he just acts as a prophet, that the ultimate profit with a small Profit will come, which will allow him to continue to proselytize what he does as a professional. But what we're talking about with people and with inventory is totally indicative of the inefficiencies that we have in veterinary medicine because of the complexity of the business models that we have created. We do everything in one building that 6, 8, 10 doctors do in separate buildings. None of those doctors have a pharmacy. None of those doctors board and groom. Now, if you can go get a colonoscopy, a dentistry, a bath, a nail trim, go home with a bag of food and a prescription, then you have a veterinary hospital. And this is what has added to the problems on the expense side because we're inefficient in the utilization of our people and because inventory is so complex because of all of the different products that we carry. Part of what we need to do at all levels is simplify veterinary medicine. We try to do way too much. I think online pharmacies, well managed and owned by the hospital, are a solution to inventory control because we don't take into consideration that 26, 28% that David is talking about doesn't include the amount of freaking people time that goes into counting pills, putting cotton balls in, reprinting labels because you couldn't put it on freaking straight, and sending home the wrong prescription or leaving it on the counter and having to deliver it to somebody's house. I know that's never happened in any of your practices.
Oh, no.
Now, colleagues out there who are listening, we are goal-seeking organisms. I'm going to give you 3 numbers to focus on. 20-20-20. 20% of your revenue, aka expenses, goes to your staff payroll. 20% goes to your doctor payroll. And your goal is to get your COGS down to 20%. When you do that, you can be a prophet of profit. Until then, you don't own a business, you own a job.
No.
And that job is barely paying you to run the business. So stop pretending that you own a business because you're going to get to 85 years old and you're going to still be doing the same thing, looking for the profit that you've never had because you were never a prophet. Off the soapbox.
Love that. Love that. And I want to jump in because outside of those 3 expenses, inventory, costs of goods, doctor compensation, and that 20% for doctor compensation is after you reset yourself as an owner to fair compensation for a doctor, not tax strategy. Support staff 20%. That varies by state and even within states. So you want to track it and then get a reference. After those 3 expenses, you can pretty much ignore the rest. Quit worrying. Set a budget for marketing in this case. Spend the money. But your facility costs, repairs and maintenance, advertising, the office expenses, the bookkeeping, professional fees, merchant fees, those are fixed expenses. They tend not to change very much from year to year, or should not. And that's diagnostically something to watch for. So, I've only in 25 years had one client negotiate new electric rates. Your utilities are your utilities. Now, they were a high consumer, MRI, CT scan, etc. So they're the exception. But don't sweat those as much. Pay attention, look at review, make sure it's where you expected, but focus on the inventory, the team, utilizing the team. Because when you're not profitable after those three expenses, then the focus needs to be on the revenues, the top line, not necessarily going to fees, but how can we practice more medicine with the same bundle of expenses? How can we take care of, and one of the things I started really focusing on, you can't use this message to your team. We got to make more money. We got to generate more revenues. That's not a motivator. The result, the outcome is good business. But with your team, you have to focus on good medicine. And that approach is team. We are great at what we do. But there are pets out there that need us. How can we work smarter to fit one more in? To get one more dental procedure for that animal that's living in pain that we couldn't fit in last week. That, I think, is good medicine, which supports the good business. And so trying to do more with the same assets and actively manage your inventory benefits the business, the profit, lower PF, and allows the team to be more profits focused with the capital P and the PH. And I love that profit and profit, Peter. That captures the passion, which underlies that. And I think, yeah, the expenses are huge. Got to focus on the inventory for sure, but then that working smarter, team utilization, and the Vet Partners team utilization guide that's out there, and other resources, for both inventory management and practicing more medicine. You're not alone out there. There's resources to help for sure. I cut you off, Kelly. I got excited on my
I
soapbox.
know. On that note, and we're going to have Peter go first because he has to drop off. People get overwhelmed. There's 50% of people out there, according to this conversation, who aren't doing what they should be doing and watching their financials. And I know when people get overwhelmed psychologically, they just don't do it because they feel buried and they don't know. So I'm going to challenge the four of you, and Peter, you can go first. Whoever's listening to this, give us one thing, just one thing, actionable item that will give them a step forward in the right direction. So what's one simple thing they can start this journey on of watching their expenses? So you're just going to have to, and then after Peter goes, you other three can choose that. But I'm going to challenge you, Peter. What would be that one thing?
Well, I don't speak in one things,
I
so
know this is
uh,
hard for you. Yeah.
but what I wanted to say before I give you my one thing is don't cut your marketing expenses right now. We are in a recession in the veterinary field, whether we want to accept it or not. And marketing is actually where you want to spend more
More.
to show clients that you care. Because I think we'll do a talk on revenue generation at some point in time to balance out this talk on expense. And marketing is not something that should be cut in the face of adversity. It should be actually expanded so clients know and people know that you're out there. So that's a sidebar. What I focus on the expense side is the optimal utilization of your people to create and support your clients and support one another. I think we are a people profession. It is a team-driven profession. It is your people hiring correctly, training correctly, educating correctly, onboarding, orienting, and keeping and retaining, where it is much less expensive to keep your people than to constantly be replacing them. So expense control is really about building a team that stays together and plays together.
Love it. All right, Jenni, Beth, or David, what's your one
I'll
suggestion?
go. I'll go. Uh, so on the train of surrounding yourself with people who know what they're doing, I feel like if you haven't done it yet and you're a practice owner, get a good accountant, one that is willing to sit down with you and go over your accounts, go over where your expenses are, and help you simplify it so that you can understand it. It does not have to be complicated. You do not have to start looking at it having 1,000 kajillion categories. You can just break it down into very basic, simple, broad brushstroke areas to help you start to identify where a problem is and then dig more into that area. But a really good place to start if you don't like spreadsheets, if you are overwhelmed, if you don't even know how to look at a P&L statement, get a good accountant because a good accountant will sit down with you and is happy to teach you, happy to walk through it with you and help you get a better understanding of the big picture. Because if you have no idea what's going on big picture, you're going to have a hard time even knowing where to start, and that's going to be really overwhelming to you. So that would be my advice. Surround yourself with people who know what they're doing, starting with an accountant, and go through it, big broad brushstrokes to help you identify where areas of concern are.
And there are veterinary CPAs out there.
Yes.
Like one of my dear friends, Mark McGaughan, he and I became so close because he is my accountant and I knew so little. And we spent a lot of time together. And now, we're, on another podcast. And I mean, it's just, but yes, that my other thing to kind of build on what both of you said, it's funny because we talked so much about inventory, but our one things are people, trust, the amount of practice managers, if you have one, if you don't, get one, and trust them with numbers.
And give them a flippin' job description.
Well, that
Stop
too.
hiring somebody for that role and not spell out what they are
Yes.
empowered and engaged to do.
And then teach
Sorry
them
for
how to do it.
jumping in, and then give them the skills and
Yeah.
education. Yes.
But if you have a practice manager and they are not allowed to see any of the finances or be involved in any of the financial discussions, they're working with their hands tied behind their back. You cannot expect to get help from a team member who can't see the big picture, like what Beth was saying. If you're asking, right, you're putting blinders on them, you're tying their hand. It's just ridiculous to me how many, and I'm going to say practice managers in quotes because then they're not really a practice manager. They're maybe an office manager or just somebody, a lackey that you have as a practice owner doing your bidding, but they're not actually able to help. And I'm going to say this too, with regards to trust, you have to trust your team to a certain extent with financials as well. I'm a huge proponent of open bookkeeping, not here's what every single person makes and I'm not talking about that, but if they don't know what a COG is, what your COGS are, what that even means, what is your overhead? What does it cost to stay open every day? If your team doesn't know that, if you have accounts receivable and you're not getting, and your front desk doesn't understand the importance of, oh, hey, Mrs. Jones came in to get a rabies and she just walked out. Well, she's done that before. What's the big deal? It's only $15 or $20. Well, fine. If you have 5,000 clients and they each owe you $15, how much money is that? So you have to include your team and trust them with a certain level of financial knowledge. So, with what Beth said, with Peter, what Peter said, utilize your team. Beth said, get a CPA to help you understand your numbers. I'm saying once you understand your numbers and you trust your team and you're utilizing them, include them on these financial discussions so they can help with inventory, right? They can help with your COGS. They understand what it means that when they do help out and, instead of saying that's not my job, now we're utilizing our team so our doctors can do more, what that actually means and why we're doing it for patient care so that we can buy that new dental machine. We can buy that new x-ray machine. We can offer more services because now we have the money to do so. But you have to trust your team and stop expecting everybody to help you when you don't trust them.
I'm going to do two because we kind of jumped to the macro level.
Peter's
I
like,
want to
no.
give an actual numbers hands-on. Build a chart. Go 5 years, go 10 years if you can. Column number one, costs of goods sold, what it was for 2024, 23, 22, 21, 20. Column number two, what your gross revenues were. Divide the expense by the revenue. What's the percentage? Is it stable, consistent from year to year? If it's not, that's a red flag. Time to bring someone else in. Comment number two, jumping to the macro level. This appears self-serving. It is not. As a veterinary practice appraiser, if you have not had your practice valued, you should. A good veterinary specific valuator every 3 to 5 years. It's a financial wellness assessment for your practice. Have your practice valued for management and planning purposes. When you select a good valuator, and the Vet Partners Valuation Council has over 20, contact me. I'll send you 3 you can contact. They're going to not just give you the number, what the result is. They're going to help teach you why it is what it is. They're going to review that financial data with you, like Beth mentioned. When we do that, it's a lot of hand-holding and educating because we want you to understand and be able to use that data to manage your practice, because the process is super diagnostic for your practice's financial health. What are your expenses? Where have they been over the years? What are the trends? Trying to teach you and give you that jump start into having that. And I just had that call on Monday with a client who knew nothing. And, Jenni, like you were saying, spreadsheets give me hives. And at the end, he was like, this is cool. I get it. And I got chills all over because that's happy making for me, right? And he's starting to affect change, which, get yourself the tools, because expenses, when we just talk expenses, it's daunting. It's scary. It involves the word profit, which is negative. And I think you hit that on the head. But it doesn't have to be. There's people to help you and help your practice, which helps your team and the community and the pets, the animals. So food for thought.
I think it's great. And I think mine at the end, because I'm a portion of the P&L sheet, right? But I'm not in the hospital. But where I hear from my clients and where I hear from people when I go out to speak is the biggest barrier to the first step is themselves. So when I ask them, when I do any speaking, I always show a picture of a whale flying in the sky with a boat because it's unusual and you remember it. And I say, listen, I'm one lecture out of many days of lectures that you're going to. You're not going to remember it all. So what's the whale? What's the one whale you're going to take home that's actionable, right? Because when you're in an isolationary setting, like a conference, or you're sitting down with your CPA, you've put everything else in your life on hold, right? To absorb that information. So my thing out there for everybody is know yourself and know when you're acting out of emotion, of fear, or you're working on factual basis. From my understanding today, 50% of veterinarians are reacting on emotions as the wind goes by, gut feelings, how it goes.
Potentially more.
Unfortunately.
50% plus, right?
50-ish.
50-ish.
Yeah, maybe.
Ish.
We see it when they're like, oh my God, I've got to cut expenses. So they cut their revenue generator, which is marketing, and they cut it off. And then 4 months later, they're like, the phone stopped ringing. We need you to start marketing for us again. And I'm like, well, if you want the phone to start ringing tomorrow, you're going to have to write a rather big check to Google. Are you prepared for that? Because marketing engines work month by month, drip by drip. We've had these conversations before. But before you make a drastic decision like that, know yourself. Are you reacting out of fear or are you reacting out of facts? And come to terms with that before you do anything. That may be a shot of an adult beverage to help you have that internal conversation. And then act on everything else that you're hearing in this room, because we want you to succeed, but it's one step at a time.
Agreed.
Very good. That's a good wrap.
That was a
It
good wrap.
is.
It is.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening, and we will tune in next week because you never know what we come up with. So we'll wish you adieu. Thank you.